What would you do if you woke up one morning to discover that your neighbor and his entire family had disappeared overnight? It is possible that you would think they had maybe gone on a trip or moved out of town. I believe the last thought on your mind would be that they had been murdered and their bodies secretly buried where no one was aware. Sadly, this was what happened to the McStay family. Welcome to this channel. Today, we will be taking a look at the tragic story of the McStay family. Before we continue, make sure you like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel to remain notified about our latest videos. Now come along with us as we take a look at the tragic and bone-chilling story of the McStay family. In November 2009, Joseph McStay, his wife Summer, and their sons Janny and Joseph Jr. moved into their home in Fallbrook, California. Joseph, who was 40 years old at the time, owned and operated Earth-inspired products, a company that built decorative fountains. His wife Summer was 43 years old at the time, and although she was a licensed real estate agent, she had spent the previous few years being a stay-at-home mom to their children. Janny was 4 at the time, and Joseph Jr. was almost 3 years old. The McStay family enjoyed a comfortable life in their new neighborhood, and they were in the process of renovating their home. They celebrated the 3rd birthday of their son Joseph Jr. on January 31, 2010. Life was good for the McStays going into February 2010 with Summer, making plans to visit her sister's newborn baby for the first time in a few days, and Joseph attending meetings and working hard on his business. But what no one knew was that the happy life of the McStay family would soon be cut short. On February 4, 2010, at 8:28 p.m., Joseph called his business associate Charles Merritt, but the call went to voicemail. Charles would later tell police that he ignored the call because he was watching a movie. This was the last time anyone would be able to get in touch with the McStay family. Over the next few days, friends and other family members tried and failed to get in touch with the McStays. This made them worried, and on February 10, a business associate by the name of Daniel Cavanaugh contacted the San Diego Police Department after failing to hear from Joseph for over a week, which was very unusual for Joseph, as they were regularly in contact most days. The San Diego sheriff visited the McStay home, but did not notice anything to be concerned about, as there were no signs of a disturbance or break-in. Joseph's brother Michael was also beginning to get worried after repeated attempts to reach the family had failed, and on February 13, he traveled to the McStay residence and climbed in, and gained entry to the home when he noticed that there was an open window in the back. Michael was accompanied by Joseph's business associate, Charles Merritt, who had also expressed concern after being unable to contact Joseph. Michael did not find any family at home, but discovered that the family's 2 dogs were in the back garden without food or water. Concerned by what he saw and worried about the welfare of the family, Michael contacted the local police department and reported that his brother and his family were missing. Officers from the local police station soon arrived at the home, and although they found no evidence of foul play, they found that food had been left out, which pointed to the possibility that the family had left in a hurry. During their investigation, police discovered that on February 4 at around 7:47 p.m., a neighbor's surveillance camera had captured the bottom 18 inches of a vehicle, which was initially thought to be the McStay family's vehicle. Sadly, the police could not determine the occupants of the vehicle, as they could not be seen from the surveillance footage. Soon after, it was discovered that the family's vehicle had been found abandoned and was towed from a strip mall parking lot in San Isidro, near the Mexican border. An investigation of the family's internet history showed that in the days before their disappearance, the computer at the McStay home had been used to complete searches such as the documentation required to enter Mexico and learning Spanish. When police reviewed the border crossing footage, they saw the dark image of a family of 4 fitting a description of the McStay family walking across the border. This led the police to announce that they believed the family had just chosen to leave Fallbrook for Mexico of their own free will. But this story made no sense to those who truly knew the McStay family, as it failed to explain why they would suddenly leave without taking any of their possessions, why they failed to take their car with them to Mexico, why they would abandon their dogs with no one to care of them, and why they informed no one about their planned departure. The relatives of the family refused to accept the news that the family chose to relocate to Mexico, and so they continued to keep the disappearance of the McStays in the public eye as the months gradually grew into years in hopes that they could somehow locate Joseph, his wife Summer, and the children Janie and Joseph Jr. On November 11, 2013, the worst fears of the relatives of the McStay family were confirmed when a dirt biker found 4 sets of human remains buried in 2 shallow graves in the desert near Victorville, California. The remains were identified through dental records, and the cause of death was established as blunt force trauma. A 3-pound sledgehammer was found with the bodies and was assumed to be the murder weapon. As the investigation into the now murder case intensified, investigators began to focus their attention on Joseph's business partner, Charles Merritt. An investigation into Charles revealed that he had a criminal record, as he had been convicted for burglary and receiving stolen property. In 2013, Charles acknowledged that he had spent an hour with Joseph on the day of the disappearance discussing contracts and other business deals. Charles was the last person to see Joseph alive. The police discovered that Charles had a gambling problem, and that he would frequently gamble and lose large sums of money far above his income as a contractor. He had fraudulently written checks taking money from Joseph's business bank account to pay off some of his gambling debts. He had also withdrawn further money at the time of and after the family's disappearance. The police soon discovered evidence that Charles had impersonated Joseph in an attempt to delete evidence of these checks. When questioned, Charles claimed that he had never driven the McStay vehicle, but his DNA was found on the gear stick and steering wheel of the vehicle. Police also had further reason to suspect Charles when the investigation revealed that his cell phone had been in the area of the desert grave sites in the days after the family's disappearance. Police also noticed that when they interviewed Charles immediately following the family's disappearance, he kept referring to the McStay family in the past tense, and when he was questioned about this, he could not provide any explanation. Charles was arrested on November 5, 2014, and was charged with 4 counts of murder. Autopsies conducted on the remains of the McStay family revealed that they were beaten to death with a blunt object, and investigators testified that they believed the victims were tortured before they were killed. The date of the trial was delayed severally due to Charles changing his legal representation. The trial finally began on January 7, 2019, in a San Bernardino court. Charles pleaded not guilty to all charges. The prosecution showed that Charles had a gambling problem and had been stealing money from Joseph's company. They suggested that Charles had killed the McStay family for financial gain. On June 10, 2019, the jury found Charles guilty of murdering the McStay family, and he was recommended for the death sentence 14 days later on June 24. The court upheld the decision of the jury and sentenced Charles to death on January 21, 2020. Charles is currently on death row in San Quentin prison. He still claims that he is innocent and plans to appeal his sentence. Our prayers go out to the friends and relatives of the McStay family who have gone through the horrible ordeal of dealing with the disappearance and murder of Joseph, Summer, Janie, and Joseph Jr. Thanks for watching. Feel free to share your thoughts on this case in the comments. And please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.